Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome in. It is Football Frenzy on Sports by the Book here on a Friday. Happy to be with you as always. I'm Jeff Parles. Chris Andrews under the weather today, so he won't be with us today. Feel better, Chris. Hopefully he'll be around property tomorrow. So we have Vinny Magliulo as we always do, and for the whole hour, Jimmy Vaccaro is here as well.
You done?
Yes, I can let the two of you go the whole hour easily. Yeah.
You know what? You got that smile on your face since I've known you now. Is it a anger smile or just like an okay smile?
An anger smile. You know, it's funny. I was asked this question by someone else 2 days ago.
Wait, 2 days ago?
2 days ago, which I didn't think I
thought was an original.
I didn't think I had the angry smile. Someone legitimately asked me. I was just sitting there like, are you annoyed at me? I'm like, no, I didn't do anything.
Was that person a relative?
It was not actually, which made it even more awkward, Vinny.
Wow.
But no, I don't know.
Obviously somebody has caught up with you with that.
Apparently someone has caught up on the nonsense.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Well, you're old.
I know.
Well, I'm only 79, and you're 31.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me just jump in here to tell you what's going on.
Please.
Chris take a little day break, and me, like a good person that I am, I says, Chris, I'll take it up for you. And who's laughing back there?
No,
I think that was a zipper, actually.
Okay, so anyway.
I was going to say it was the door, but.
It was the what?
Go ahead, Chance. Very good.
The door?
Yeah, it's good.
Are you leaving? You going home? You sure?
Ann's got to go every now and then. She's been here for 8 hours.
That's part of the gambling show. No. We're here and we're going to have a little bit of fun. Because you know what I like to talk about, so does Vincenz, like the thing that we lead our life with is gambling. Make no mistake about it. It's been a process of your life. You've been around it your entire life. And it has changed. Probably some of the good changes and probably some of the bad changes. So when we talk about gambling, I like the show because I listen to all the gambling shows that I can. I can't do them all, but and they are obviously, if you go way back to the Lee Pete shows, the Stardust shows, they started this thing. But they were, we have a little more leeway of what we want to do because obviously we're in a guy named Michael Gaughan's house here, so we can basically do what we want. And I always tell you this, guys, if there was anything negative about it, I would tell you about it. But it's been good. So what we'd like to do, Vince, and me and Vincenz talked a little bit, before the show started, is like talk about a lot of things. First of all, we'll do the numbers thing for you right away. Then if we get that out of the way, there's some, from Vinny at Caesars and me at the Mirage. it shows you where it started at, and it shows you where it's at, and it'll show you where it's going to be good, bad, or ugly. So take it away, kid.
All right. Well, we'll intertwine through the whole way, and we'll start. Actually, guys, I want to start on Monday night first because there's only one game to be listed in college football the rest of the way. And Vinny, it's Ohio State and Notre Dame. I just want to throw this out there because we've discussed this on the other shows. So I'm sitting on a Notre Dame 12-1 from before the tournament. Have been able to win actually at no hedging at all. Bet Notre Dame in all 3 rounds. Obviously, those have all come through. From 9.5 to 8 on this game. I'm not hedging at all. I've already made a nice profit betting Notre Dame through the tournament.
So you bet them on a future, and you had them in each game.
I had laid 7 in the first game.
Okay.
Ended up taking them in game against Georgia because I missed the good number because I wanted to see how the market went, and it didn't go. It went against me, and then took them when Penn State got bet to a favorite in the semifinal.
Right.
So those are the 3 that I won with. Now, and I have that future. And I also got a little greedy on this. Took before the semifinal round exactas of Notre Dame over Ohio State and Notre Dame over Texas. So
you didn't do any Ohio State over Notre Dame exactas.
You
didn't box that.
I didn't box it. I didn't box it. I probably should have in retrospect.
No, but you're ahead.
So I'm ahead. So I don't see any point in hedging what I have here, Vinny. Especially having to lay. Where are you guys at right now? At 360.
It's
on Ohio State
on the money line. It's 360. Yeah. Well, here's the great thing about this game, and Jimmy will try to recount this because I don't think we've seen this. This game is going to be as big as the 4 NFL playoff games this weekend when it comes to betting. The interesting thing about this game on Monday night between Ohio State and Notre Dame, and I mentioned this to you after we finished our last show earlier in the week, Jeff, when Chris and I were talking about this the other day. There's 10 NFL playoff games rolling to this game.
It's incredible.
So you've got the 4 this week, but the 6 games last week, don't forget, the 2 semifinal games in college were before last week's NFL playoff games.
Yeah.
So we oftentimes talk about rollover and carryover in multi-leg wagers, money line parlays, point spread parlays, teasers. There's 10 NFL playoff games going to this game. Now, the money on straight bets and some of that carryover has already been on on Notre Dame, which is why the game has come down 1.5 points. There'll be plenty of Ohio State money. But when Chris and I were looking at that and we talked about it, we were trying to figure out if this has happened. I've not seen it. That where there's 10 NFL playoff games going, the way the schedule worked out, this is the most carryover and rollover to a college game of any kind, much less a playoff game.
And also, too, you technically could make it a whole 12 because you could carry it over. If you're coming in betting on Monday, you can carry it over to next weekend, too.
Well, what's going to happen is that game will be the catalyst to the to the NFC and AFC title games.
Incredible.
No question. So, again, a good game, 2 very marquee teams, obviously high-profile teams, blue bloods. Right, Jimmy? We're gonna see plenty of business come Monday night.
I couldn't say it any better, and obviously, no joking, he's right on the money. First of all, like with someone like you, go back 20 or 30 years, you couldn't take some of that money and bet it because we didn't have those props up at that time.
Exactly.
Right.
We just had like the Ohio State game, and that was it. That's the positive side of all this is happening. I mean, I looked at the sheet before I left. It said, what will be if this team plays this team? What will it be the last game if this team plays that team? This will be a very, very, very big teaser. Everything is going to come in for the weekend with the Bills and this and that, whatever. They're going to, because especially, and I say this with, of course, it's so easy to figure out. How about if you're from Arizona or whatever, or borderline in Carolina, you're going to come here for that weekend. You're sticking that teaser in when you're way out the door, so you have something coming. It'll be, this is Jimmy's guess. 3 times what normal would be as far as teaser play is on that Monday, of what the carryover is going to be. See, people forget out there, it's not that you have to even worry about it because it's not your business to really see actually what we do, but we will be there trying to maneuver to get off some of that -8, -9. And, these things get a little juicy, especially with a well-known team like Ohio State. Don't even think. Now, if you say, oh, Jimmy, you're crazy, you can't think. If this game would go to 10, don't think that's the end of the world. I mean, we have a good idea of what's going on there, but we've been around this racket so much, there's nobody that can tell me, probably Vinny, what's going to be kickoff time. Now, it sounds like it's going to be right around where it is, but I've seen it so many times where the game was 6, and here it is, oh, it'll be okay, and we close it at 10. But what it also means is we're getting more play. And the only way you can make money in this racket, especially on our side, is like you need money bet. Mm-hmm. And this will draw a lot of money, especially and there will be a lot of time and people like, who will get off that game too, because they took +6 for $500. Now they can get 2. They're going to win 1,000 or 5 or whatever. So it's a great way of doing business, especially on our side.
And some of the, for our liability, the easier part, I'm not going to say easy because there's art,
sure.
and science, right, to the bookmaking side of it. You'll have, it's not like the straight bets are really going to be that as big a decision as the carryover, as Jimmy indicated, right? And when you look at these 5 games, there's teaser action on both sides. You're going to see teaser action. You're going to see, everybody saying, "Well, I'm going to tease Ohio State down." If you like, if you like a 6-point teaser, I'm going to tease them down to 2.
Yeah.
Well, you could also get Notre Dame +14 or +14.5.
Yeah.
You see, and you're going to see that throughout these 5 games where there will be teaser action on both sides of these games. In fact, I think these 5 games will generate more teaser action than we've seen in a long time on a group of games. So, then we've got all the props that'll go with each game. Mm-hmm. Monday night will have more props than any other playoff game that we've had on the college side, and then of course there'll be the props for the NFL games, and Chris still has the exactas up in the NFL too. So a lot of time between now and tomorrow. Tonight will be busy, but tomorrow gets us going.
Well, tomorrow they're also, on top of all these football games starting, you're going to have 155 college basketball games.
Why wouldn't we? By the way, let me tell you, and I know that just kind of a preview, right? Because we're going to take this Friday show into the college basketball season, right? When we, once we get through football, those shows, we're going to talk about something that took place with football a little bit in college. You're going to have some really good, high-profile college basketball games on Friday, on certainly Saturday, like you mentioned, and then Sunday. There'll be some of the Power 5 conferences involved in some of these games. I mean, look at tonight's schedule, right, Jeff? You've got, and by the way, when I say Power 5, don't forget in basketball, there's still a Power 5.
You're counting the Big East.
Yeah. Well, in basketball, you have to.
So, well, tonight you got Providence, Villanova.
Right.
You got Indiana, Ohio State.
Ohio State, which is a nice game in the Big
Mike
Ten.
Woodson might be coaching for his job. DePaul, Georgetown, Iowa, UCLA conference game, by the way, Vinny.
Isn't there a New Mexico?
Boise's your nightcap.
Boise's a really good.
That's a good. That's a real good game
tonight. So that's just an example, all right. And when you look at Sunday, fast forward to Sunday, Jeff, because everybody knows that tomorrow there's some great games, including Kentucky hosting Alabama at Rupp Arena.
The SEC is going to be like the old school Big East.
It's a monster. I mean, they'll have the most. They'll have the most bids. We can safely say that now. But then again, you go to Friday. To Sunday. So again, what's really going to be good is that we'll get through football. It'll be highlighted by this weekend, and then conference championship games and the Super Bowl, and then we roll right into March Madness.
Sunday's headlined by Illinois and Michigan State.
Good game.
Which is pretty darn good.
Illinois
two legit top 20 teams.
Right?
Yeah, and Michigan State is much better than expected. All right, I want to go over to the pro side of things. Guys, actually, no, one last question, Vinny.
Yeah.
Total on the national championship game has not moved.
46.
Been stuck there the whole time.
Holding steady. Again, pay attention to, everybody, a lot's been made about Notre Dame's injuries, right? Particularly at wide receiver, defensively as well. But remember this, Ohio State's got some pretty key injuries too. In fact, they've really got some big concerns, I think, on their offensive line when you look at it. So pay very close attention. I mean, they've got 3 guys that are out for this game. And Mikowski, McLaughlin, and Josh Simmons is also out for this game too. So less depth and some reshuffling by Brian Day on the O-line for Ohio State. And, we know that Notre Dame's, even though they've got some injuries on defense, they had some injuries in the last game. You know what? They actually prevailed against Penn State. So keep an eye on the injuries as well.
One thing I'll jump in here for a second, Vincenzo. Let me drink. Mm-hmm. Now, like right now, trying to give you a little what it's really like, behind the counter type of thing. Now, obviously, you look now, obviously there's not even half the chairs are filled up. But here's the big but. Obviously, the football games are going to be number one. But it looks like we have no business. But when you get days like this, the phones take up all the business. There are people trying to maneuver, and you can't maneuver on all these games if you're sitting here in the front row. You can do that during the week, but like we have, I think there's over 100 games on Saturday.
150 games tomorrow.
Yep.
150 college basketball games tomorrow.
So when we see it, we talk about it like now, then we'll talk about it later. It's just like, wow, Jimmy, nobody was in there, but we can tell you we had a hell of a day as far as like the people betting it, because everybody has an angle. Everybody has something that they want to show you that you're a little better than the next guy next to you. So you'll look around, okay, but tomorrow it'll be not crazy. Well, you will with the football, but like with the basketball, you won't. But basketball and the colleges have been very good for us in the last 3 to 4 weeks, because once again, if you're sitting on your behind and you got a $50 bill in your pocket and Duke is ready to play, well, now you got 40 in your pocket because you're going to, you're gonna do something else with it. So it's a crazy world that we live in. But there's a fascination. I'm not trying not to run people over, let them know like what we do is like, the greatest thing in the world. But it's pretty damn good for someone who wants to win some money, who wants to be a part of like something that is going on, and that's college basketball. The NBA is it. The NBA is becoming a freaking problem because nobody plays anymore. And you can tell a little bit about what the hell is going on as far as the handle is going to be, because, now Butler's not going to do this. He's not going to. I think there's going to be a time. It's still, obviously, it's a long way away to some degree, but I think the general public says, screw you, NBA. We're getting tired of this. Go, do something else or just let us alone. So what can I tell you? I think it's going to come to a little bit of a wall sooner or later.
The good thing too is here at South Point, and Jimmy brings up an important point. While it looks quiet, it's only going to get busier too as we get into having a 24-hour book is a big plus, and the fact that this property does quite a bit of local business too. So it's not like it is also a holiday weekend, so there's going to be plenty of folks. It's MLK weekend, and there'll be plenty of folks stretching out and getting an extra day. But our locals will also be front and center. And again, this is a 24-hour town. It's a 3-shift town, and so the locals that do come in either before or after their swing shift or their graveyard shift will certainly pick up. As this evening we'll start picking up from the dinner hour on. Every hour it'll get a lot busier.
And I'll give you an inside look on on how we got to the 24-hour day. I've been fortunate, and so has Vincenzo. Ended up doing a lot of work with Michael Gaughan, the owner of the casino here, and obviously he's giving us a lot of leeway to whatever we do. I was there in 1979 when Michael opened up the Barbary. Then before we were still open at the Royal Inn, which was a very casino that's downtown, where the Stardust used to be and the Hilton between all of them. So I was there, and I was, again, the manager of that sports book. It's basically all locals, and it was also people who worked till graveyard, then they would stop at the Royal Inn going home so they could have a bet on the Dodgers, come tomorrow. So the point I'm trying to make is like, we were there one day, we were open for a while, and then Michael Gaughan, well, obviously this guy has all the answers, called me upstairs, and we sat down, and then he got right to the point. He says, you know what? He says, I've been thinking about something. Well, okay, you're allowed to think about it since you own the joint. He said, if you look at this place at 2:00 in the morning, you'll see a lot of dealers from the Caesar's Palace, the Dunes, whatever. They still got their aprons on because they were still working. And they would come there, and now it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Then Michael said, why am I closed?
Right.
Because these people are here all the time, especially after midnight.
Yeah.
The time period was like usually 3 to 11. That's what the restaurants were. And so he started it. Then we had a couple of ads in the paper. He started everybody doing 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just carrying on right here.
Keeping it going.
Still works.
Keeping it going. It's still. I mean, look, there's still going to be a herd of people at 2 a.m. here.
It'll be good. And then,
forget
be lined up too.
Vinny, forget
morning.
Super Bowl week. I mean, that honestly, the only time I think I didn't have to wait for a line Super Bowl week was at 5 a.m. when people had given up at that point.
Yeah.
We're already asleep for 2 hours before hitting it again at 7 a.m.
Take a nap. And then the good thing too is these games are positioned nicely. Don't forget.
Yes.
When you look tomorrow, 1:30 for the
Chiefs game,
the Texans Chiefs. Then 5:15 for the Commanders Lions, which, by the way, starting time means nothing anymore for these games.
Oh, they actually were pretty good last week.
What? When? What do you?
The Sunday night game actually started early last week.
No, let me tell you something. That's the exception. All right, the game starts on time. 4:30 tomorrow on Monday night for Ohio State and Notre Dame.
That will be 4:45,
and then noon and 3:30 on Sunday. So. Which, by the way, I'm not necessarily complaining about it because
you get more time to get to the window.
The longer they're open, the more betting there is. But I just look at these times and I say to myself, I automatically just go to the counter and say, we always bump them. Have the supervisor bump it. Just come on.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to the NFL then. Let's do this. Let's go to the first game on the board. Kansas City hosting Houston. Vinny, Jimmy, it has been 25 days. It will be 25 days.
Right.
Since Patrick Mahomes has taken a snap in an NFL game, since Travis Kelce's been on the field, since 20 other Chiefs have been in an NFL game because they had the number one seed in the AFC West wrapped up before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. The AFC 1 seed wrapped up on Christmas Day, so they got the rest of their guys, didn't play Week 18 against Denver. We all know what happened there. And Vinny, it's interesting. These two teams met the Saturday before Christmas, so not too long ago, only about 30 days ago. And this number was a lot shorter with Kansas City, 4.5, 5, depending on where you close the number. And it's interesting. I know Houston doesn't have Tank Dell anymore. I know there's other injuries on the Houston side, but it is a significant difference from when these teams met last time, just 30 days ago.
Well, and I think the injuries have a lot to do with that. And now Joe Mixon is not 100%, right?
He will play,
he's
but
going to play, but he's obviously
battered.
His ankle is not 100%. So, and I think that there's also that perception with the Chiefs and how they've gotten to where they are. The fact that they've had 3 weeks now, as you mentioned, Jeff, over 3 weeks to rest their starters. Now that said, there's something to be said about rest, and there's something to be said about rust, which, if you're looking at the Texans, I think there's going to be more Texans money in the first half of this game. And I think that's something that, which is still, it's still a big number. It's still 6. I mean, when you look at it. Yeah. But that's a lot of points for a half. And if the Texans can, because they're in the routine, we've talked a lot about teams being in football being the ultimate rhythm sport by being in a rhythm, not just within the game, but it's a week to week, right? And how you prepare for that week's game. Every day has a specific component to that preparation. So, every other sport, there's back-to-backs. And so, this is something where I think, yes, I think it's helped the Chiefs, and when we get to the Lions in the next game, I think it's helped them more because of their injury situation. But the Chiefs were healthier then; they're going to be healthier now. Mm-hmm. And from a game standpoint, I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that this number is as high as it is, Chance.
Yeah, it's going to be a little. We can still see the kid hobbling off the field. That's been over 3 weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah, Mahomes with a little bit of a
that was not too long ago.
Yeah.
That was week 15.
16.
Yeah, week 15.
Well, Cal, run this by you too. Obviously, you get a lot of like, hey, Jimmy, who do you like? Hey, I'm sure Vinny gets it. I'm sure you get it. Mm-hmm. I've been 2-1 with Lions over everybody else. The Lions are drawing a lot of it. I know with me walking around there, it's, hey, Jimmy, you think they can finally win a game or do this or whatever? And you know what? This might be their best team they've had in a while. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. They're good. How good? Well, we'll find out. You still got to win it.
Yeah, question.
Before people start giving you the credit. But this team, and this coach is pretty savvy too, the Lion coach. He seems like he knows what the hell he's doing. So it's going to be interesting. Quickly, the two games there, are -8 or -6, whatever. Those are the ones that will be attacked by the teaser bets with the colleges and.
So this one right here, Jimmy, you guys actually just moved up.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to 8.5.
You went to 8.5.
Wow.
Right now on the Chiefs, still in premium teaser position, as you mentioned, below that 3.
Yep.
Wow.
And I think again there'll be more Kansas City parlays than the Texans, but again now you could get the Texans at a cheaper teaser price too. Remember, pay attention to the teaser prices and the key numbers, because a 6-point teaser is minus a dime. Then you've got minus a quarter, and then you've got minus $1.40, which is minus $1.50, which is still cheaper here than a lot of other places. But if you're laying a cheaper price and you're getting 14.5. You see, the other, there's a school of thought too that, well, listen, let me, get as many points as possible. Well, sometimes it's about the key numbers too, and you're going to pay more for more points, right? Jimmy?
You hit it, kid, because there will be some what you would consider people who do this, really a lot more than most of the general public does. Boy, it's hard not to take plus 14.5 on some of these games, boy. Mm-hmm. In a playoff game. I mean, that's a monster number. And I think we'll be getting, again, the ticket price will be, 4-1 with the favorite, but there'll be some people taking over 14. And wow, we'll see what happens. But I know one thing, that's a huge, huge number.
Looks like clear and cold for this one, Jeff. And now we'll talk a little bit about all 3 or 4 of these games. The only game that we know is climate controlled is going to be the Lions game inside. But it looks like all of these games are going to have, some weather in terms of at least frigid temperatures. With the wind, I think they'll be clear. We'll get to the Bills, maybe some flurries, but I think what we want to pay attention to is the wind.
So I'll just tell you this. They got pretty lucky in Kansas City.
Yeah.
If this game was on Sunday, we probably would be kicking off with single digits. Mm-hmm. Probably. Because this game's on Saturday, we're looking at 23 degrees, no precipitation, wind a little under 10 miles an hour. Pretty good.
Perfect playoff weather.
Pretty good. I mean, far cry from the negative 30 wind chill last year when they played Miami on that Saturday night.
Exactly.
I think that was the moment where everyone in the country realized, the weather in Kansas City can get a little bit hairy from time to time.
Sure. Yeah.
Weirdest weather pattern in the entire world, the state of Missouri, but that's a different discussion for a different time. All right, I want to hit the other Saturday game since Jimmy brought up Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. This is the biggest line of the weekend, and it is the Commanders who won a playoff game for the first time since Mark Brunell was their quarterback. Always love looking at. By the way, Brunell on the sidelines is the Lions quarterback coach. So full circle on that one. Commanders, Vinny, you guys opened this Detroit 8.5. Up to 9 on the Lions. The totals moved all over the place from 56 to 55, now back at 55.5.
Yeah.
For a high number, 55.5, 55, 56, actually pretty key for high numbers, all things considered, as wild as that may sound. But It is, look, this is a whole new world where the Detroit Lions are the NFC favorites for a reason. They're the 1 seed. They're almost double digits at home. And I can't get out of my mind what I watched from the Commanders last week and thinking they are very much live in this game to do something stunning here, Vinny.
Well, they're very good. I mean, I think Daniels has surprised people in his rookie year, just how good he is. Because Williams in Chicago had all the publicity and all the hype as the number 1 pick. Now, all that said, you've got the Lions here whose depth has been on full display for the last month when you think about it, especially in the last game of the season, which meant something to them and the Vikings, and they took care of business with the Vikings. Their defensive depth, especially, I think, surprised a lot of people. And by the way, think about it. The Vikings lost 4 games this year to 2 teams.
Yeah.
They lost twice to the Rams and they lost twice to the Lions.
Wow.
They finished 14-4, and they're home. You think they would have loved to have this first round bye helped the Lions more than it helped the Chiefs because they were much more beat up. By the way, it looks like they're going to get Montgomery back for this game as well.
I would be surprising if he didn't play at this point.
He's been practicing this week. The only thing, too, I think, from the Commander standpoint, they suffered some defensive injuries in the game against Tampa Bay. So want to be mindful of that, too. Here's the thing that makes the Lions so dangerous.
Vinny, real quick on the Washington injury. Bobby Wagner is going to play.
Well,
so that's good news for Washington.
They need Bobby Wagner. But here's the thing. The Lions, and again, once we get to here's what makes them so dangerous. They don't stop scoring, no matter what the situation is. If they're down or they're up. And to your point, Jimmy, you love Dan Campbell, the coach, and what he does. And, here we got a team they already laid the 8.5. They're probably going to lay the 9.
I'm sure. I think they will, too. And one thing before, we're having a great time so far. This is a lot of fun. And, you talked about a total 55 on one of the teams, whatever.
This game here, 55 and a half.
I shake my head, not because I'm surprised. Go back to 1980, 81, 82. The average total was like 37 on these NFL games. Yeah. And we just thought that was the right numbers because now it's a quarterback league, obviously, to some degree. Mm-hmm. But the totals, that's what they were. Now we're talking about 15 points higher than this game was for a normal game. So as, when we sit here talking about these things, we're giving you how it was, how it is, and maybe how it's going to go. Can it go much higher, like a 55 ball in the side pocket? I would think no, because you say, look how high it is. Don't. But then the other thing is just very obvious too. They throw the ball 40 times a game too. So and what Vinny said, he's right on the money. They play for touchdowns late. I mean, they just, you're here like it's 3-3 after 1. Oh boy, I'm in good shape. It's 44.5. Then you're sweating your behind off, with 4 minutes to go. And that's what it shows every time. So don't get crazy and say, I'm going to bet these games under like this. Man, a 35. Yeah, okay, you'll go broke if you keep doing that.
I will say real quick, Vinny, you guys actually just speaking of totals, I know we talked about this game earlier. National championship game total just moved to 45.5. Well, so
again, when you see underplays on key numbers in particular, right, and there are key numbers in totals as there are on sides, typically the under money is professional money. Okay, that's because fans and your average bettor, which is fine. I'm not saying it's bad or it's not bad. They love to root for points.
Oh, you don't believe the fence that's brought out there?
I told you this, and I will maintain this. Like so you get the buddies, or you get the husband and wife, right? Especially right, and one's got the big white D, and the other one's got the picket fence.
Right,
they're lying.
You don't buy the picket fence. No, don't buy it.
Did you ever see them not cheer when somebody gets in the end zone? Okay, that's it. They want points.
Here's one more that I think are leaning towards the totals going higher and higher. We have so many games with these penalties on these long passes. It's just, if it's third and 11, it's not like you're dead anymore.
No.
And my thing's always been, if you're back there and you're just trying to you might as well throw it 30 times as far as you can, you're going to get an interference call sooner or later.
Yeah.
And now you're on the 18-yard line. Now you're on the 35, the other, going the other way. It's just amazing. We see it all the time.
Yeah. So I just want to throw one thing at both of you here, because we saw last week, I thought Washington's game plan. So this actually goes with both the total and the side here. Mm-hmm. Last week, Washington did not punt in the game. Tampa punted once. The game went under pretty easily. Mm-hmm. The game closed 51. There was 49, which I thought was a pretty good number the whole week if you wanted to go over. Game goes under pretty comfortably, 23-20. Mm-hmm. Zane Gonzalez's kick that doinked in ends up advancing Washington, as we know. You have to be careful with betting overs in the Commander games for the exact reason of what happened last week.
Well,
where they
remember
are.
That was an outdoor game too, which the weather wasn't awful, but indoor you have to account for that as well. Right?
Understood.
Yeah.
But the way Washington plays and the way that Washington is, quite frankly, the way they have to stay in this game,
they don't want to get in a shootout.
Long, time-consuming drives.
Yeah.
That, you know what? Even if they result in a field goal. Taking the time off the clock is unbelievably important when you're a big underdog. You want to shorten the game, more variance in a game with less possessions.
Right.
That's the main reason I bet Washington here. Now, granted, I think I'm going to end up with 9.5. I don't think that's going to end up being the best of the number. I do think we see 10 by the time this game. But I know, don't blink.
Don't blink.
Don't blink.
Don't blink, Jeffrey. Don't wear your sunglasses.
I blinked last week. It was not a good job, Vinny. I missed the number, and it cost me. It cost me.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about this once in a while? It's 6-3 after 1, and you got under, but then the game goes overtime.
Oh.
Overtime.
How do you like that?
Jimmy, that's my favorite in college basketball, where he got the dead under, and all of a sudden you look up and the game's in double overtime and you lost because of it.
Toss your ticket when you see that OT.
Wow.
Or the 4-point underdog in college basketball goes to overtime. That's actually my favorite, actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we have 2 more games to get to in the NFL slate. Bills and Ravens. Boy, what an amazing game to end the divisional round. And, Rams Eagles, pretty darn good itself. We'll break them both down when we get back. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy here on a Friday.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu. Plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy. Friday afternoon. We're happy we're with you as always. Jeff Parles, Vinny Magliulo's here. Jimmy Vaccaro standing in for Chris Andrews today. Thrilled to be with you as always. We just went through the national championship game, Chiefs and Texans.
By the way, Chrissy on the injury report will play.
No, I know he'll be back tomorrow. I know right now
it's
it
not
says
questionable.
It's not questionable.
No,
It's just this is a maintenance day. I get it. And for Chris. By the way, in the chat on the YouTube page, if you're not hitting that subscribe button, if you're watching us for the first time, hit the subscribe button because you can't chat if you're not subscribed to the channel. So the way you interact with us, subscribe to the channel, then chat away. Vince is in there. Roger Long likes a 5-team favored money line parlay, which will beg the question to me of who will mess up the 5-team favorite parlay this week.
Good question.
Save that for a little bit later.
There'll be quite a few of those.
Yeah, I imagine. I know. Let's put it this way: Ohio State, Detroit, Kansas City money line parlays. I think those will be very active this weekend. Adam Orphan's in there as well. Our good friend Adam.
He's got a little. He's probably got a little Grateful Dead on in the background, I'm sure.
And then Vince is in there, and then Joey. Just want to make sure. And I would imagine so. So Joey's just asking a question about a total. That Detroit game was played outdoors. If Ford Field did not have a dome, would imagine that, of course, depending on the weather and all that.
Well, the weather would impact
the total, of course.
Impact it, 4 or more points. I mean, if it let's say the weather was in, let's say they were outside and the weather was the same as it's going to be in Kansas City, right?
Which is what it actually will be Saturday night in Detroit.
So you probably take off, I don't know, 3 points, 4 points, because it's still Detroit.
Yeah, it's Detroit.
Still the Lions.
It's Detroit in January,
right?
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's
question.
Let's go to these Sunday games. The Rams, who, fellas, they were impressive on Monday night. 9 sacks of Sam Darnold, holding Minnesota to single fingers, basically scoring whenever they wanted to in that game. Really just took the foot off the gas pedal in the second half because they didn't really have to do anything. That game was won midway through the first quarter for them. But now they go to Philadelphia. This is a different animal. Eagles, Vinny, Jimmy, the defense was awesome against Green Bay, but the offense really lackadaisical. Didn't have to do much, 22 more than enough to win that game. The total's been the mover. You guys opened 43.5, got the 44 now back to the opener. But this is sat all week at Philadelphia -6 against the Rams here. 3 o'clock Eastern kickoff in Philly. The weather really looked like it could have been a total mess because it looked like it was going to be heavier winds earlier in the week. The winds look like they'll be sub 10. Chance of light snow, though, through the game here in Philly.
Yeah, not awful. I mean, a big difference for the Rams, right?
Yeah.
Certainly the weather favors the Eagles. Looks like Higbee, who left the game for the Rams, their tight end, will be able to go in this game. He did not come back for the second half last week against the Vikings. They'll need him more in this game than they did against the Vikings last week. Vikings lose. They lost Dean last week, right?
N'Kobe Dean is done, yes. Patella injury. He's out for the year.
So pretty significant injury, but the defense is still good. Both these defenses are good. And you look at again, we're talking about totals, right? And this total is lower, certainly significantly lower too. But by the way, it's a matter of style of play with the Texans, Chiefs, and the Rams and Eagles games where they're not as up tempo as the Lions, and in the next game the Bills, which we'll get to. So the fact that the way those teams play and the tempo that they play with, regardless of what the game situation is, really speaks to the total as well. But this one, again, you'll start seeing some carryover here. There'll be support for both of these teams, but probably more for the Eagles, Jimmy, I think, particularly on the money line.
Yeah, because obviously you're getting the best of it because you're under 7, which means all you do is win the game. You can't, every now and then, if you're laying 7.5, now it's 1.5 on the teaser, you might get bitten once in a while. But anything that's under 7, just win the game. There's nothing, nothing bad can happen from there. So, and they know, They know that, meaning the coaches, the players, and all that other stuff. They know where these games are at as far as like the totals are, and obviously what the numbers are. If they tell you that they don't know, they're not telling you the truth. They all know it, and I believe. Of course, it's hard to figure out, but when it's 3rd and 1 and there's a minute and 20 left, and they get that first down, whatever, what secures yourself, they all go for the first down.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you this on the Eagles end of thing, Vinny, because Jalen Hurts didn't play for 2 games after the concussion he suffered in the first quarter against Washington. Last week, they did not play a good offensive game.
Their offense was not particularly
sharp. They took full advantage of that fumble that really should have been recovered. Was recovered by Nixon, but they didn't
change the game immediately.
Oh, made it. It was Vinny. I had the under. I thought as soon as you're going to give Philadelphia a touchdown within 90 seconds of the game, my under is no chance in this game. Thankfully, Jordan Love was doing what he did in that game. But just with having that game under the belt for Hurts, do you think we see a better version of Philadelphia's offense here just because Hurts, maybe that was just getting the feet wet and they happened to face a legit top 8 defense in Green Bay in the first game back?
Well, they're going to face a legit defense in the Rams here, too, right? So, I mean, it definitely, I think it helps Hurts to have a game under his belt, but he's also going against a better opponent. I think if you look at the Rams defense, I think they're a little better. They're younger. They're as good. They're every bit as good as the Packers, and their offense, certainly is better. So that helps the defense too, right? But here's the other thing too. That is going to have a lot to do with coaching, Jeff. And who do you give the coaching edge to here? I think you have to give it to McVay.
Head coaching wise, 100%.
So
100%.
Now, I think that things have gotten better for the Eagles with Sirianni because I think he's, for the last, month and a half, 2 months, really kind of backed off a little bit and given more autonomy to his offensive and defensive coordinators. And I think that's really worked out for them, for the Eagles. So like this, you've got to really pay attention to coaching in these games as well. And honestly, I thought McVay really was last week against the Rams was a classic example of the professor schooling the student.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think that had a lot to do with it as well. Now, the Vikings will grow from that. But this Rams team, and there's something to be said about this tragedy. And by the way, our hearts go out to all the folks in Southern California that are still going through this, and these players and these coaches, these folks are still going through it. I'll tell you one thing: it certainly galvanized. It galvanized the Rams. It much more than it did against the Chargers. But the Rams, I think, are a bit more veteran club here, and I think so. You put all those factors together; those are things that are going to come into play in this game, Jimmy.
Well, one thing I would just notice here, and not that I didn't know before, but like I just stuck out for a second, the money line on this game is minus 280 plus 240. That's awful fair. Chris puts up fair.
It's a 40-cent spread.
Yeah, it really is.
Generous.
You're not going to see too many 40-cent spreads on the totals with the games. It's 280 and 240. So once again, the people who truly understand the numbers say it's a fair price. Doesn't mean you're going to automatically win it.
Right.
But, you're obviously saving yourself a few dollars. And that's the bottom line, guys, out there. You got to look for the whole year. I mean, every time you saved $150 and you did it 40 times for the year, it's $5,000 or whatever that you've saved. So, but I know, Jimmy, shut up, sit down, don't worry about it.
It's a great straddle. I mean,
yeah.
every cent helps, I mean, that's huge.
Vinny, I just want to ask you real quick. The 4 quarterbacks in the NFC playoffs remaining: Stafford, Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff. How would you rate them 1 through 4 left?
Well,
because even though the Rams might be to me they are the weakest of the 4 remaining teams. I know some will quibble and say Washington. I have Washington a little bit higher than others. But I think they have the best quarterback remaining of the four, and they have the best coach remaining of the four in the NFC.
I think the coaching has a lot to do with it, Jeff. But I would say Stafford because he's a veteran, and he's a lot tougher than we thought. Or I think a lot of his reputation showed prior to last year was a great example, right? He had a pretty significant neck injury, and a lot of people thought that once he won the Super Bowl a few years back that he was going to retire. Well, he's gutted it out and transitioned this team and a lot of these younger players, and really played some exceptional ball. Now he's got terrific receivers. He's got a good running back. But let's remember this: their offensive line was a mess to start the season, and he gutted it out. So I would say that, from a results and an overall standpoint, football IQ and results, you put that together. I would say Stafford, then I would say Goff, then I would say Hurts and Daniels. Simply not to take anything away from anybody in any particular order, but Daniels is still the rookie, and he's getting further into the playoffs. He's done a great job this year. They're not where they are without him. But I'm just talking about, if you take all of the elements combined, that would be my order.
It's just so interesting where, at least for me, a power-rated team that I have fourth, where I have the best quarterback and the best coach in the conference. It's so interesting dichotomy-wise for that. All right, last game on the board for this weekend, and fellas, what an amazing game this is. And I imagine the action on this game will be bonkers by the time this game goes off at about, let's be real, 3:45 Pacific time, even though it's listed as 3:30 right now.
It's already had tremendous action. You can see by how the numbers move.
So you open, Vinny, Jimmy, Buffalo 1.5. You flipped it to Baltimore 1. There's even a Baltimore 2 in the market now. Bettors are all over the Ravens here in this game. We did see this in week 4. Ravens really put it on Buffalo. They beat them by 4 touchdowns that game.
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore, though. But look, Baltimore might likely without their best wide receiver again in Zay Flowers, who's still injured. But here you go. More likely than not, the winner of this game will head to Kansas City next week for another crack at the Chiefs. Of course, Buffalo beat Kansas City earlier this year, but has not beat them in the playoffs. 0-3 in the Allen era. And then Baltimore, of course, lost to him by a toe in week 1, and then lost to him in the AFC title game a year ago.
Needed a good pedicure to win that game. Didn't happen. No, this game has already seen a tremendous amount of action, as you mentioned, Jeff. I mean, the Bills open as 1.5-point favorites, and now you had the Ravens as a 1-point favorite. But, Flowers is not practicing this week. I did hear a quote by Harbaugh that said he's going to play. Okay, but he's not practiced. We know that he's not going to be 100%. I think they really need him to win this game. Here's where weather figures also come into play here. Now, both of these teams are cold weather teams. What I mean by that is cold would typically lead to lower scoring. A lot of times, if it's snow can sometimes. We've seen games over the years, Jimmy, in Denver and Green Bay, especially where snow, and it was just a shootout. But it wasn't as cold and wasn't as windy, and we know that it can get windy in Orchard Park as well. So it's a night game there, but again, still a high total, given both of these quarterbacks' ability to scramble and both of these offenses to be able to put up points. So if this was a game during the day, you would probably see this total closer to what the Commanders and Lions total would be. If it was during the day in moderate conditions.
So, wet weather, by the way, 17 degrees, chance of snow. Wind's not bad, only 5 miles an hour.
So I know one thing. There's not a guy on this panel I'm betting on that will say last possession is going to win this game.
Yeah,
it's more than in play.
Yeah, for sure. So again, that's the other thing too. Pay attention to who receives the ball to start the game. not who wins the toss, but who receives. Not typically teams will defer, but because then you get that 2-for-1 type of scenario where the team that is going to receive the second half tries to get the the last possession of the first half too. So those are all little intricacies that come into play, and we've had to pay a lot closer attention to that over the years because professionals do.
When you have one of these teams, truthfully, you're never really out of it.
No, that's just it. That's
They
it.
come up with a 14 ball real quick.
It's a pick'em game.
Well, again, you're dealing with, again, this game has nothing to do with the MVP. It's a regular season award. It's a regular season award for a reason. These guys are going to finish 1-2 in the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with, to me, again, even though Mahomes had a down year, you're dealing with the second and third or fourth best quarterbacks in the NFL in this game.
Yeah.
Depending on what you think of Joe Burrow. They're all in the AFC right now. And I think Jimmy's point is spot on. Like, this game could come down to the field goal kickers, where, of course, we talked about it's really silenced lately because he's gotten his act together. But Justin Tucker was the worst kicker in the NFL for a good chunk of this year. And Tyler Bass has missed a few big kicks in his career, including last year, where he had a chance to send the game against Kansas City, well, potentially to overtime. Kansas City still would have had time left to get in range for Butker at the end of regulation, but had a chance to force a tie and did not last year. So you have, even though Tucker going into the year was the best statistical kicker in league history, you have questions on that side and questions on the Bass side because he has missed gigantic kicks in the past. Good
point. And the climate here is going to contribute to that.
Oh, yeah.
To the kicking game.
Even though, again, the wind not too bad.
It's not the wind so much either, though, but it's just the air. It's a lot more difficult in that kind of cold.
I think it was either you or Chris who mentioned this on Monday. I think it was you, actually, Vinny, where these newer stadiums, the sound is a little bit different. The wind blows differently
the wind
in these newer stadiums.
Swirls and
this is again. There's only 2 years. This more likely than not will be the final game at home for Buffalo this year, barring a big upset in the other game. And then one more year, and that's it. That's it for this version of Highmark Stadium.
Yeah,
that goes back to this was Rich Stadium all the way back in the day.
Rich Stadium, yeah,
right.
When they made Marv Levy's teams went to 4 straight Super Bowls.
So, like, you're dealing with the old school stadium here as well in this game, Vinny.
Mm-hmm. That's a big advantage to the Bills. I mean, that's why they're they opened as a favorite in this game, and that's why the game is still so close from a point spread perspective. But this Bills learned a lot from that game. But the Ravens, both here. The great storyline here is both of these teams are trying to exorcise demons from the last few years, and they're trying to get another crack at their nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Again, neither of these teams have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. The only quarterbacks, as we know, the only teams to have beat Mahomes in the playoffs, Tom Brady twice with New England and Tampa, and Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That's it. Allen 0-3 in the playoffs against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Lamar and Baltimore 0-1 against Kansas City. Even though, let's be honest with ourselves, one of those 3 for Josh Allen, 100% not his doing.
No.
That epic game, the 13-second game where Buffalo was, still think Buffalo would have beat Cincinnati the next week, but that's a different discussion for a different time.
This game will have the most two-way teaser action.
I want to just run this
Jimmy?
down next to you, too.
Please.
We'll talk about it next week. Will Dion be the next Cowboy coach?
Oh, wow. Vinny, I'm going to defer to you first.
Possibly, but I'm going to say I make the no a slight favorite right now. I just don't. I know that he and Jerry Jones have a great rapport. I think the Dak Prescott factor comes into play here because
largely
in that contract, because I think if Dion goes there, he's certainly going to want his son to be the quarterback, and they're in no position to make that happen without some type of blockbuster crazy trade along the lines of the Cowboys Vikings with Herschel Walker. 35 years ago.
You want the bigger issue for potentially not having Dak Prescott on their roster next year, Vinny? Dak Prescott's cap hit next year is $89.9 million.
That's what I'm saying. His contract, which he just signed last year.
$89.
So that looms very large in that Dion conversation, in my opinion.
Vinny, I'm with you. But I will say, if you guys were to make numbers of who the next Dallas coach is, I think you could even go in a three-way market at this point. Kellen Moore, Prime, Field. I think you could get away with it at this point.
The Field?
With I think it's going to be Kellen Moore. But you never know with Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones. Anything's in play with Jerry at any moment. But this also, I'm curious if this is for Deion Sanders. Like, it's Dallas' job. He has a good relationship with Jerry.
No question about it.
Yeah, and it makes sense that he would want it. But could this also be a scenario where Colorado is apparently balked on NIL money? Is this
They've
a scenario?
Also recruited quite a.
I know.
They've got a lot of good transfers coming in, and recruits that are going there and transferring there because of Dion, right? Let's face it.
Yeah.
Which obviously they can change and decommit. But I think I think that the Dak Prescott factor really has to be, considered, because it's huge.
Huge. Dak's contract, by the way, 4 for $240, is what it is. That's $240 million, of course. Yeah. The cap hit is brutal, regardless.
Yeah, it's
like I said, nearing $90 million for next year if he were to get traded, and then it doesn't get much better after that. $68 million, $61 million, $72 million is cap hit the next few years. So. Go. Yeah, it's hard to get out from underneath that contract, to say the very least, without ruining your roster across the board. All right. That's what we got for you. Been a fun show. Jimmy, thank you for standing in today, Jimmy.
Good job. Good job, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
We appreciate you being here.
Chrissy's a go tomorrow.
Yes, I know he'll be here. Vinny, thank you as always. Lineup. Vince, Drew Dog, Jerry, and Sean. Feel better, Sean, by the way. Ryan, wherever you may be. Thank you all, as always. On this channel, next up, there's a new time for Saturday morning Sports by the Book. It's 8:30 tomorrow morning.
8:30?
Yes, 8:30 tomorrow morning.
AM, right?
I would hope so. It'll be a post-game show at 8:30 p.m. 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Alex White and I will be here. We'll get you ready for, again, a loaded college basketball card. By the way, Vinny, Kentucky played an 8 a.m. Pacific game 2 weeks ago. Now we got another 9 a.m. for the Cats.
TV will do that.
Yeah. Alabama, by the way, coming off a stunning loss at home to Ole Miss.
Kentucky coming off a couple of big wins, actually.
Really nice win.
Still trying to get healthy at the point guard position.
Get your Pope hats ready there, Vinny. Get them ready. Get them ready with the side of bourbon for noon in Lexington.
Never too early for some bourbon.
And then, of course, Alex and I will have our official picks for the two games tomorrow on the show tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning right here on the channel at Sports by the Book. We'll see you again then. Sports by the Book. Anything else, Jimmy?
Are you going to the inauguration?
Can I have the private jet? I'll take the private jet if you want to send me anywhere, Jimmy. Anywhere domestically, you can send me with the private jet. No, I'm good. They apparently moved that indoors.
Moved it inside.
They moved it inside. It's too cold in D.C. on Monday.
It's in the dome.
It's in the Capitol Dome on Monday, apparently. We'll see you next time. Sports by the Book.